Did you always want to be a journalist?
No, I'd say I didn't always want to be a journalist. I guess a form of war correspondent. I don't know, I've recently gotten into politics. I was never really big into politics, so I wasn't really involved in much. Now I guess I've kind of become a little bit more political, kind of interested in more things like that. So as at least part of my career, I also have interest in maybe some documentary making, lots of different things. But yeah, I guess more towards war journalism, just towards the beginning of my career though, who knows where it would branch off. I'd kind of want to be in the midst of the action. I'd love to be independent. Freelance would be the dream. I don't know how quickly I'd be able to jump right into that. You might have to get, you have to get your credentials, go out and, maybe work for an organization for a couple of years, baby steps.
Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, for a lot of it, it's just training. Yeah. That's at least what I've found for it. When it comes to actually like doing the journalistic aspect of the actual job, I find that, I guess, research of actually looking into war correspondence and actually being a war journalist, there's a lot of different avenues you can go down. I know that they have an actual training facility, from what I was told, down in D.C. where you actually get around like live fire exercises and bombs going off and stuff like that. So that costs an arm and a leg from what I've heard as well, right?
Sure.
So that's just basically what we can actually do with regards to the war correspondent aspect of it,
kind
right?
of trying to prepare yourself without maybe having to go down that avenue like I talked about.
So basically what I want to actually do is go in and interview, make documentaries, and come around that style of journalism that shows the other aspect of once the war's moved on, what has been done to help these people humanitarianly. You know what I mean? They always say that UN goes in, picks up the slack, and they're there to help rebuild and blah, blah, blah. But when the United States pulled out of Iraq in, I think it was 2011, or at least they started to, that's how you got insurgent groups like ISIS and stuff like that coming to the forefront and actually taking over and imposing their own extremist views of what Islam's all about, right? Instead of the Americans taking their time to withdraw, getting the government transition from being an occupied state to a free-run state. Sure, it's going to be a democratic state. Now, I use air quotes because it's not democracy, really. It's an implanted government that's going to be basically a yes man to the United States and how they actually go about doing that kind of thing. You know what I mean? So that's kind of really what I want to do, is to show the aftermath and the effects of, bombs, crap like that that's left over that wasn't cleaned up.
Really, I have an interest in that, and I'd like to get into possibly writing a book on the relation between war and religion. I've always had kind of a history of military. I've always had kind of an interest in the military. As a younger age, it was just, a little boy's obsession with guns and shit. As I grew up, I started to realize, the other sides of it. It really drew me towards it. And I also have a large interest in, later on in my career, possibly getting into religious journalism.
Explain.
I'm not a very religious person. I'm not egotistical enough to sit here and tell you that God doesn't exist, because I don't think he exists, and if he did exist, I wouldn't worship him anyway.
Yeah, so you're very agnostic. Whether he exists or not, I don't care either way.
I don't care about him. But my family, very religious.
Those are good topics, and like I see a lot of connection between how I'm looking at it and what you're explaining. Like how I don't want to just be a post-war journalist. Obviously I want to be in the thick of things and also be able to go back to the areas that I've covered before and see how they're improving over the year.
That'd be really interesting.
Year, 5 years, 10 years down the road, right?
Awesome.
And actually do a comparative documentary on how things have gotten better, or if they haven't, or if they've gotten worse.
How things have just progressed.
Yeah, exactly.